Okay, welcome back to Pixelworks. In this episode, we're going to show you how to remove dark circles from underneath the eyes. We're going to do this using frequency separation, and we're going to show you a couple of ways that you can actually set up frequency separation. One's a manual way, one's using an action. First, we'll cover the manual way. So you're going to make 2 copies of your background layer. Label the middle one low and the high one high for low frequency, high frequency. The high frequency separates the texture, low frequency separates the colors. So now if you haven't done this before, you select your low layer, go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then select the radius. And you can select this as you go, but you can find one that's just where it blurs out the texture and you can't see the texture. And then you have to select the number depending on the image that you're doing. Select OK, and then click back on your high layer, go to image, apply image, and here you'll select your lower layer for the layer. Then you'll select linear light as the blending mode and scale as 2, offset 128. Now that you have that done, you'll need to move over to your layer section here and select your blending mode as linear light. Now that that's done, go ahead and select your lower layer and your higher layer. Control G at the same time, and we're going to create a group. You can label it whatever you want. In this case, frequency separation, to keep track of everything, to make it all nice and neat.
And that's it. That's it.
By putting it together in a group like this, you can check and see if you've done it right by turning it off and on. And if you don't see any change in the image and it looks just like the background image, then you know you've done it correctly. Now I'm going to show you how to do a frequency separation setup just using one click using an action. Now this time we're going to do the same frequency separation setup, except instead of doing it manually, we're going to do it with an action. Now this action comes in 2 different actions for a 8-bit image and a 16-bit image. We're going to use an 8-bit image action this time. And once you select the action, all you got to do is press play, and it automatically sets everything up. As you can see here, it even puts it in a group for you. It even labels it and everything, so you're good to go. You can make adjustments on the low frequency layer for the Gaussian blur as you go, but everything else is already done. I'll also leave a link in the description where you can download this action for free and use it anytime. There's plenty of places that you can actually get free actions if you wanted to set up frequency separation if you don't want to do it yourself. Now what we're going to do is select a brush tool to do this job. Mixer brush is an option as well, but in this case we're going to use a brush to paint the color on, and it'll remove this dark area easy, and anybody can do this, but you got to be very careful. You don't want to overdo it. As far as your settings are concerned, I have my flow on 3, opacity at 90%. This may vary from image to image, so you'll just have to use it as you see fit.
Nice and easy, Doyle. Nice and easy.
If you've never used a brush tool before, we're going to paint this on, as you can see. And so what you're going to do is you're going to hold the Alt key. You're going to select a section of skin of the lighter color and use it to paint over the darker colors. But you don't want to select too far. You don't want an overly bright area. You still want to keep it natural looking. And so, of course, the shadows are going to make around the eye area darker. So where the light falls, you don't necessarily want to sample from that area. You want to sample from a lighter area to lighten the dark circles around the eyes, but you want to make it look as natural as possible. That's why you have to go slow, keep your flow down low, and sample from an area near the skin that's lighter than the dark circles you're trying to cover up, and then just gradually go over it. Go over here to the eye icon where your group setting is, and then just turn it off and on and check and see how you're doing. As you can see here, it's making a huge difference in the dark circles around the eye. This is why you got to be just very subtle about it, because it still needs to be a little bit darker than the lighter skin on the cheek, because that's the shadowy area. So you want it to look as natural as possible. You don't want to blow it out. This is why flow rate and opacity and all these settings matter on your brush and the type of brush you use. Now we're going to do the same thing to the other eye. And so we're going to, again, now on this side of the face, depending on where the light's coming from, the light could be just a little bit different than the other side of the face. So again, it's all relative here. So the same thing you did to the right side, you do to the left side, except just be more aware in case the shadows are deeper on the other side than they are on the opposite side that you just finished, because those colors could be darker. So if you're trying to get the exact same light, that might be a problem if the other side of the face is the darker side of the face. So again, it has to be relative to the face and to the lighting that you're working with. So if you have a dark shadow on one side of the face and you go and try to make the eye area as bright on the shadow side of the face, that's going to look weird, if that makes any sense to you. So just be aware of what you're doing and think about lighting. Photographers are very familiar with this sort of thing. So if you're a portrait editor and you're doing photography, it's important to be aware so you'll know that your photos are being done correctly, and you can get top dollar for these photos, and everybody will know that you are a professional. So take a look at your work and see what you think. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and take a look at the final product here, because I think we did a good job here. This is a method of using the brush tool. You can do it with the mixer brush as well. So enjoy.
Voila!